So, George Gaiman's throwing out warnings like confetti at a New Year's Eve party, saying a 25 basis point drop in the 2-year Treasury yield is waving a red flag for an impending recession. Picture this, that little number dropping could be the smoke before the fire, and the fire might just be an economic downturn heading our way, apparently within months. Now, what's this whole deal with the 2-year Treasury yield? Well, it's like a crystal ball for the economy, or so they say. When it takes a 25 basis point nosedive, it's like the economy's way of giving us a heads up, brace yourself, recession might be around the corner. Gaiman's also comparing the COVID-induced supply chain mess to a war. He's saying, look, it's a war zone out there, but unlike wars, our factories are still standing. The analogy thrown around is like having a scrunched-up rubber band. Even though demand's taken a hit, manufacturing capacity has increased. It's like we're holding on to that stretched rubber band, and the question is, when are we gonna let it go? Here's where Gaiman and others are locking horns: expectations for inflation. Some are thinking it's a big deal for investors. There's a tug of war between them on whether inflation is going to shoot up or stay low. And this inflation debate is tied to the Federal Reserve playing magician with interest rates. Now, comparing wars and pandemics, it's like choosing between two evils. Post-war, you might see inflation ramping up like a rocket, but post-pandemic? Well, they're saying maybe deflation is easier to deal with. Imagine prices dropping after a pandemic. Sounds like a shopping spree, right? But hold on, because rapid deflation might not be a walk in the park, especially when we've got manufacturing capacity doing the cha-cha despite the drop in demand. So, the economy's in this weird dance where it's not losing manufacturing capacity, but gaining it. Can that save us from a joblessness recession? Some say maybe, thanks to the Federal Reserve playing the easing card. They're basically pumping money into the system, making it rain, hoping to avoid job losses and rapid deflation. Speaking of easing, there's a fierce debate on whether it's an inflation trigger or a deflation buster. One side argues it can lead to inflation, but from a negative place, it stops companies from slashing prices too quickly. It's like using a defibrillator on the economy: shock it a bit, keep it ticking. Now, the inverted yield curve is another beast in this economic jungle. Traditionally, it's like a doomsday sign, shouting, recession's coming. But history throws us a curveball. There are instances when the curve did the limbo without causing a recession. The Federal Reserve's like our economic superhero, ready to swoop in and cut rates rapidly to avoid joblessness and get that desired inflation. Hold on, rewind to 2019. Some folks are claiming the inverted yield curve had predicted the recession back then. Now, we might just be feeling the aftershocks. But get this, there's talk about a 10-year boom cycle riding in on the coattails of those aftershocks. Imagine a decade of economic highs. It's like a unicorn in the financial world. Taking a stroll down memory lane, we find that even before 1930, the inverted yield curve was doing its thing for a whopping 30 years without dragging the economy into a never-ending recession. It's like the economy's playing poker, and the inverted yield curve is the poker face. Sometimes it's just bluffing. So, buckle up, folks. We've got warnings of a recession, debates on inflation, a dance between manufacturing and demand, and the inverted yield curve throwing curveballs. The economy's like a drama series, and we're all waiting to see how the plot twists unfold. Will it be a boom, a bust, or something we haven't seen before? Only time will tell. Please go ahead liking, subscribing, and sharing with friends to support our content. The information is for general purposes. Viewers should conduct research and consult professionals for financial decisions.